people are back. Great, so very warm welcome back. It feels like we're sort of we're two sanghas here. Actually, I don't know, I haven't counted up the numbers, but we've got a very generous show in from Killaloe. So thanks all very much, Killaloe Sangha, for coming. And as you heard, we're going to be interviewing a few Killaloe Sangha members. So first of all, I want to hand over to Sangha Shura, who started the Killaloe Sangha when he moved over there. I have the great pleasure of going on retreat regularly, actually, with Sangha Shura. He is an extremely friendly man, so it doesn't surprise me that he sort of accidentally started a Sangha. Actually, I don't know if it was accidentally, but I could imagine that happening. So yeah, he's going to tell us a little bit about the history and development of the Killaloe Sangha, where they meet and all that sort of stuff. So over to Sangha Shura.
Thanks, Ardacity. Can you hear me clearly?
Yeah, very clearly.
Brilliant. That's Wi-Fi now. Fantastic. So, well, what a pleasure it is to be here. Our Sangha joining yours. It's really, thank you so much for asking us. It's brilliant. It's really brilliant. So, funny enough, I mean, not surprisingly, really, the Killaloe Sangha was born out of friendship. A very dear friend of mine, Guya Vadra, who some of you I know very well, he used to come and visit me in Ireland, and we used to drive around in my 1959 Morris Minor, driving around listening to traditional music and be on holiday, really. And from that, I asked him, would he mind leading some introductory weekends in Killaloe? And back then, this is like mid to late 1990s. And there was nothing going on around Killaloe then. And everything would be sold out. We'd always have at least 30 people on a course. And it was great, but I didn't carry it on myself for a while. He did that for a while, and then there was a big period of time with nothing. But after I was ordained, I was talking to Satyaraja, and a very good friend. And I said, my idea was I said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be a manager. I'm going to invite order members to come and teach in Killaloe. I had no intention of teaching myself. And he said, no, you do it. So that is how it started. But it started at a really small scale. I converted a bedroom into a shrine room for teaching, and had a coffee morning meditation. In fact, Anne, who's here tonight, was one of the first people that came along. And I think she'd tell you but when she came to the house, she felt a little bit nervous going up into this bedroom of this strange person to meditate. But that's how it actually started. And so then we moved to the Family Resource Centre in Killaloe, and did a few more, had a regulars Tuesday night class, and I would do courses there as well. And then we had there's a picture actually that's going to be shown of the barn in Killaloe, which is a gorgeous venue, and we started doing more and more there and having retreats there, and so things have just progressed, and gradually, I mean, it's really been a testament to just turning up and just keeping on putting on things, and gradually the Sangha has grown, and we've got a wonderful group of people. The most, I suppose, about 25 people are the most regular, and about very strong friendships between people and connection. And since the lockdown, what's really helped is, and for us, the lockdown's been brilliant because of the Zoom effect. We've had pretty much every Tuesday on our Sangha night a visiting order member giving a talk, and so that's since the beginning of the lockdown. And we've been doing a morning meditation at 7:15 to 7:30 weekdays, and a Sunday morning meditation, and foundation courses on a Wednesday night. And people who've wanted to go deeper with their study, they've joined into Dublin Buddhist Centre, London Buddhist Centre, wherever, and joined groups. And so it's been like that. What else can I say? Not much really. That's the bare outline, really. Okay, if you want to ask me anything, I could answer, but I think that's about it. That's really how we came into being. Yeah.
Great. Thanks, Sangha Shura. It's brilliant. Yeah, and that's over. When was the sort of start date when you started?
2009.
2009, right?
Yeah,
Brilliant.
Yeah,
great. And what does your week sort of work out like in terms of activities at the for the Sangha?
Okay, so Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we have an early morning meditation. On Tuesday night is the Sangha night. That's 8 till 10. And Wednesday night, I was doing back-to-back foundation courses. And we have a Going for Refuge group on the Friday. And on Sunday, lockdown permitting, we've been doing outdoor meditation, or online. But we've also been doing a monthly small weekend retreat. And and that for lockdown's been awkward, but in the past we've had summer retreats and things like that, and but we join in with the Dublin Buddhist Centre retreats as well. So we'll join them when we had retreats. We'd drive up to Cavan where they have them, and we've got people who've come to Pamaloka, and there's people in the ordination process in the group here tonight. Sean and Derek are in the ordination, and Bunty. Oh, we've got friends in India joining us. So Bunty's here tonight, I think, and Hira is there. Yeah. So it's the middle of the night for him. He's brilliant. He gets up in the middle of the night and comes to our classes as well.
And he's here tonight?
Yeah, Bunty's here, yeah.
Bunty, great. Great. Oh, yes, I did see a Bunty. Brilliant. Well, welcome, Bunty, if you're here. Okay, I'll just interrupt just to say to everybody, actually, that if you... we're going to have everybody who's interviewed spotlighted. If you want to see... Sangha Shura, myself, and the other people who are being interviewed, pinned on your screen. If you go to speaker view, they will all pop up. If you go to gallery view, you'll just see everybody. Anyway, just so that you can choose that, you have that choice. So that's quite intensive level of activities, really, Sangha Shura, to keep going. Largely yourself. I mean, I can imagine how helpful it's been to have order members able to visit on Zoom, but that's quite a thing to keep up. Has that been wearing or inspiring for you?
Well, it's been very inspiring. Just recently, actually, in the last couple of months, I've found since there's been a slight change in the dynamic, and I'm also playing more in the orchestra, and I have found it, and also the COVID jab seems to knock me out. So it's like it's been a bit challenging in the last few weeks, fun enough. But up until then, I felt like it's inspiring. It's a great bunch of people in the Killaloe Sangha. But anyway, here I'm up in Westport having a holiday right now, just to take the first bit of space I've had away from Killaloe like this. So this is the last night of our holiday. So we're joining me and Titch here.
Right. Great. Yeah, so you play professionally in an orchestra, don't you? And you've got a couple of kids as well. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, an 18-year-old and a 4-year-old. Titch is here. There she is.
Hello. Feeling suitably shy. Great. Yeah. Yeah, there's one other thing I was going to ask you. I've just suddenly lost my train of thought. Yeah. See if it comes back. It might come back later. Yeah, there were some photos, weren't there? That you wanted to show.
Yeah, so there's the picture of the barn I was talking about, and there's a picture of the large Buddha, which is in my house, which has become the center actually, and we do small retreats there. So that picture's in my house. That's the shrine room in the house. It's a lovely Buddha. The Dublin Buddhist Centre gave to us. They were given it. They didn't want it. Said it's too big, but I love it. And then the other pictures are in the barn where that's the barn. That's our Killaloe home, actually, in the middle of Killaloe. So that's a gorgeous setting. Yeah.
Great. So that's where you meet monthly.
Well, that's where we were meeting every Tuesday before the lockdown.
Oh, sorry.
And doing retreats there and everything. But we've moved it to my house for the time being. Yeah.
Great. Yeah, and the question I was going to ask you, sometimes as a Buddhist, people ask you, how's your practice going? And often they mean your meditation practice, but it's clear that you do a lot of, you run a lot of activities for the Sangha. So I just wanted to sort of ask you about that. In what way in what way that is a part of your practice? You know, how would you sort of attribute the importance of your sort of personal practice and your practice
All right.
of creating Sangha?
Yeah, well, I'd say that it was creating Sangha has become central. I mean, that's where, I mean, I have to say for a long time, my practice was all about me having good feelings and wanting to have a great experience and create a sort of heaven on earth sort of thing. But certain things happened in my life which just, that wasn't going to happen, you know. And I have found creating Sangha to be the most fulfilling thing. And it was funny because when I started going to the Mitrakuvinas meetings, when I started seeing you there, it was when I really first started feeling a wholehearted gratitude for Sangharakshita. Because I realized I started to realize what he was going on about, and how, yeah, it's a bit like, you know, it is, you know, he talks about the orchestra and me and Christian playing the chamber orchestra. For me, it's like that. It's all very well playing an instrument on your own, in your own room, but to be with other people playing music is incredible. And it's like at a high standard. And I think what happens in Triratna is a high standard. And I found that being with other people, creating Sangha and practicing together, is just amazing what can happen. It's just, and it's so mysterious. You just don't really know what exactly, you know, you could do the same thing over and over again, but it's always different. And that's what I love about it. Like, I just, that's what I love. And that's what I think is so transforming. You know, it's the Sangha element. It's forming friendship and going deeper with practice together. That's what inspires me. I think if it wasn't for that, I would have probably stopped ages ago. But that whole Bodhisattva ideal of you just keep going. I think I was glad. I'm also very grateful to Satyaraja, because I didn't want to teach. I thought I have to have some sort of amazing attainment to be able to do it. But he said, just do it. You need to just do it. And actually, that was a great. It hasn't always gone well. I haven't always done well myself, and it's, you know, there have been some dramas in Killaloe, but you know, over time, I'm realizing it just pays off. It's more rewarding than anything else. Yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. That's a great answer. It's very inspiring to hear, actually. Yeah. Just get out there and communicate the Dharma. Yeah, and something happens. Yeah, it's very striking. I'd like to invite forward the rest of our interviewees. So Adele, I think we'll start to spotlight. I'll try and get the right word. Great. So welcome to Jean and Christian and Sean. We've got. Hiya. Great. So we had a little meeting. So we've got Derek somewhere as well. Can we find? Is there a Derek in the room? And we've got Moira.
If everyone that isn't spotlighted, if they could please unmute, because I can't spotlight them while they're muted.
All of the Killaloe interviewees, could you unmute? That's what it is. So that's Derek and Moira. I think just Derek and Moira left, isn't it? So Derek and Moira, unmute.
I have unmuted.
Great, thanks, Moira. You'll be with us. You'll be with us shortly.
I was unmuted, guys.
Oh, great. We've got Derek. Marvelous.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Is that Bunty?
Yeah, yes. Thank you.
Great. Welcome, Bunty.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for getting up in the middle of the night to be here.
Yeah. My pleasure, guys.
Great. So we just got Moira to join us. There we are. Brilliant. Okay. Well, yeah, thanks again for being willing to come and be interviewed. And as you know, yeah, we're exploring this theme, what makes you a Buddhist? And I know some of you are, you know, you're at different stages in that process. So some of you don't consider yourselves a Buddhist at the moment, but that's fine. What I wanted to ask you about is, in a way, how your life has changed. So I wanted to ask you, maybe even quite sort of quite practically, what is it that you do differently now that you didn't do before you're a Buddhist or before you came along to the Killaloe group? So what is it that you do now, and why do you do that? Why is it you do that? You know, what difference does it make in your life? So that's the question I wanted to ask you. So perhaps I could start with Jean. Would you tell us, what do you do now that you didn't do before you?
Sure. I suppose I should say that I meditate. Do you want? So it was so hard to think about how to answer that question, because I find that there are many aspects of my life that are different to pre-regular meditation and Buddhist study days. I suppose what I see is a better, kinder relationship with the people around me. Meditation, obviously, regularly, which I wouldn't have done before. I think I would have been doing band-aid meditation and band-aid retreats where I would have been in a time in my life or in a moment where it was just at boiling point and the retreat took the boil down. And I felt great, but I didn't continue it afterwards until I'd have done another weekend retreat.
Oh, yeah. Interesting.
So now also as well, so we'd have the Tuesday evening, and then I have joined in a women's group on a Thursday, and we would usually then have on Zoom or in the garden retreat, or meditation on the Sundays at Sangha.
Great.
And I mean, that's only the tip of the iceberg, but definitely just the way I speak, the way I think, and just I suppose the effect that I feel I have on the world is all different.
Oh, interesting. So can I just draw you out about a few things there? You said there was a significant shift for you when you you moved from kind of band-aid band-aid Buddhism, band-aid meditation to regular practice. So that's really interesting. What just tell us about that transition. What was it that sort of that helped you make that transition, and what effect did it have?
Well, I met Sangha through weekend retreats or day retreats in the barn, which you saw in the picture. And at that time, I had a lot going on in my life, and I felt very lost, I suppose. It wasn't a happy sort of calm place to be, which is how I would always see myself being, or would have hoped to be like that. And I found actually it was chaos. So a couple of years ago, my marriage broke down, and when I joined in with the weekend retreats, there was a sort of issue happening in a group of friends, and it just seemed like I was standing in the middle, looking around at all this just instability, and I just didn't feel like I was in a very good place. And when I joined into the retreats, I mentioned earlier before we started, everyone was just so lovely, and the atmosphere was amazing. And I just started to think, this is the direction that I want to be going in, and this is the situation I want to be surrounded by. But I didn't know, was it just because it was on retreat and everybody had, intentionally left the baggage at the door and come in with their best selves, or was this the way that people were living all the time? And I guess that the more I got to know people, I started to see and I started to feel a shift in myself through connecting with people on this sort of level. I started to see that that was something that you could be living every day, and it was definitely around the choices that I was making. And we often talked about, or people talked about, letting go of things, and I could never really get that. How could I let go of something that I had? But I found a better way to describe it was moving away from. So by sort of connecting more into the Sangha and connecting more into the meditation, I was moving away from all the chaos and creating that calm around me, which I was looking for. And it was actually just before the first COVID lockdown. Then I said to Sankashura, I said, I need to know more, because I hadn't started any Buddhist studies at that stage. And I got in touch then with Atulya Mitra. And not long after that, then we started an online women's group just to begin study.
Wow, brilliant. Great, thank you very much. And you said a number of times that you feel that actually it's had an impact on people around you. You sort of seen that you're sort of positively influencing. It's not just about you.
Yeah, I guess that, like, when you're living your life and you're going from thing to thing and trouble to trouble and stress to stress, and it's just a big ball, you know, you're sort of like, you're literally bringing everything with you. And to understand that, and I'm definitely not there yet, but to understand, or to even just stop for a moment and to be able to think that what I'm going to say now is going to ripple out into someone's life, which will go to somebody else, which will go to somebody else. And the same with the things I do. Just being aware of that, even just the like, it's in effect, it's a huge effect, you know, that ripples out, and then you're the driver of that. So it sort of brought about my responsibility in the relationships with people that I have, or even just meeting somebody or passing them in the street, and to be sure that they're passing me and getting some sort of positivity rather than, you know, like the opposite.
Mm-hmm. Great, thank you very, very much, Jean. It's very very touching, very moving to hear about. Yeah, can I ask the same question to Sean? So,
I suppose kind of like Jean as well, like you know, meditation obviously is one thing I've taken out of it, but I think kind of the biggest kind of change in me has been when I first went to the Buddhist center. I was kind of going through a period of kind of existential crisis, kind of, you know, realizing my mortality and the impact on that. And I kind of went to the Buddhist center with a kind of a sense, maybe a naive sense of finding some kind of comfort to that. What I got was the Dharma, which actually put me right up against and said, no, there's nothing you can do to change this, but this is the reality of things. And I remember it was I did an ethics course shortly after I learned how to meditate, and one of the first things we learned was conditioned co-production and all that kind of stuff. And I remember that was the first time I've ever had a kind of a good feeling from something, that this is what I believe and this is true. And even though it's putting me up against the very thing that I'm having a crisis with right now, there's something very comforting about that. So yeah, that's kind of grown in me in the last kind of 4 years or so, and I've been able to sit with that deeper and deeper now, and become more comfortable with that. But also, like what Jean said, I think one of the things now more recently is kind of moving out of myself more and seeing that how, although I'm working on myself, indirectly that has an impact on the people directly around me and indirectly around me. The kind of the attitude that I have, the kind of different approach to life now, and the way I interact with people has a positive effect on the world. And that's a good thing. And, you know, we kind of need more of that.
Great, thanks, Sean. So that's a really striking story you give out. I'm sure one that many of us can recognize, sort of come into the Buddhist center hoping for something and not getting it, in fact getting pushed back into further deeper into the things you're trying to get away from, but actually that helping. So yeah, somehow the truth really sort of helped. Would you say it helped? Is that, would you put it in that sort of way? Or
well, okay, I think there's always a thing that comes in my head, you know, when I think back about them, you know, ignorance is a bliss, and, you know, all that kind of stuff, and it's kind of comforting and all that kind of stuff. So in one sense, it'd be nice to be told a lie and all that kind of stuff, but being put up with it is actually, in the long run, is kind of a better thing, because I also think it's opening myself up to more of me as well, and more of the world, and the more of people around me as well, that I wouldn't necessarily have if I wasn't put up against that.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, great. So it's kind of, it's showing you more of yourself. It's changing you in the process. Brilliant. Yeah, great. Thanks very much, Sean. That's really brilliant story. Thanks for sharing it. And probably the last time with this question, but Derek, would you care to the same question? Do you want me to repeat it?
No, I think I have a question.
Great.
Thank you, and thanks to Sean and Jean, because their answers were quite moving. Like Sean, although I'd been interested in Buddhism for a long time, it was a dry theoretical interest, and what prompted me to go along to the center was, well, at the time it was actually the Sangha Shura's house. Was work-related stress. I simply needed an antidote to that, and meditation was that initially, and it was a band-aid, and it was an effective band-aid, and that was pretty much the limits of my expectation. But the conversations and the people I encountered, and the opportunity to meet more just seemed to open up. There was a sort of flowering of opportunity that seemed completely unexpected. I initially encountered Triratna in Killaloe, but soon I was in England and got to meet some people in the West London Sangha, and it very quickly became a regular, and just astonished with the quality of the people, the quality of the conversations. Initially, I was just attracted by the ideas. It may have seemed simply intellectual. And like Jean was saying, there was this question, you know, is everyone on their best behavior, or are these just the most amazing people I've ever encountered? And when that really sank home was on my first week-long retreat, and something fundamentally shifted. And we were in silence all week, and there were 3 other friends from the center, and we hadn't been particularly close at the start of the week, but we were, you know, relatively friendly. And once we came out of silence, three grown adults about the same age, bubbly as children, dying to tell each other that we all wanted to become mitras, and all 3 of us blurting it out at the same time. And it was so joyous, and on the other hand, almost infantile. We just couldn't wait, and we did become mitras together, and just a whole series of random happenings ever since that makes us all keep going.
Wow, great. Thank you also, Derek, for that story. And can I ask, was it particularly the experience of retreat that had brought out that sort of deeper desire to well, recognition that you're a Buddhist, becoming a Buddhist?
Well, I guess there was the silence and the simplicity and the intensity of practice on retreat, but there was also something else shifted that I won't attempt to describe.
Right. Yeah, sure. Yeah. No, it's interesting, isn't it? Because your story is one of kind of moving from an intellectual engagement to something much deeper, well, people, and then what you're hinting at is something sort of deeper than that you can't even quite put into words sometimes, but sort of being touched in you, and that leading to a sort of a transformation in your life. Great, yeah, thank you very much, Derek. Yeah, I'd like to ask another question, because maybe I can ask this of Christian and then Moira. So what particularly do you value about practicing in Triratna? You know, we're a particular community, a particular Buddhist community. And I mean, it may be that you've never been to another Buddhist community, and that's fine for answering this question. But what in particular sort of is it that that resonates with you, that means that this is the community that you want to continue to pursue, to practice Buddhism and understand Buddhism, Christian?
Well, thanks for that question. It's really, as I said earlier, it really came through my friendship with Sangha Shura. We played together in the Irish Chamber Orchestra, and I remember actually when I auditioned for my job, reading the biographies of the members and seeing Sangha Shura's biography, and that he was an ordained Buddhist. I was like, God, that guy sounds really cool. You know, I'd really like to meet him, and and then just gradually quite quickly, really, over the past sort of first or second year that I was in the orchestra, we began to talk about the Dharma and discovered that, had quite a lot in common with the sort of, I guess, a connection through the arts to what's at the root of the Dharma, which is a sort of mysterious spiritual aspect to it. And if you speak to most artists about like that, they really do think you're crazy. But I think there's sort of an element of that which compels people in the arts to really search for things. And really through the strength of my friendship with Sangha Shura, just having a new way to explore that was really refreshing and exciting to me, and deeply nourishing, and I feel quite a difference from just the time that I've been spending doing it.
Wow. Yeah, great. Yeah, that's really interesting to hear. Yeah, I mean, it's one of the so-called sort of distinctive emphases of Triratna, to sort of emphasize the arts and the value of the arts in the spiritual life, the kind of very close sort of connection. But it sounds like you landed in just the right orchestra for
yeah, absolutely
discovering that.
I mean, I can't think of anywhere else where I would have had such an opportunity. So
yeah,
absolutely.
Great. Yeah, but it's very interesting hearing for you as a musician. That was a real sort of opening to be able to talk and explore the experience of music and the sort of depths and mystery of music, absolutely, with that context. Yeah, great. Yeah, thanks very much, Christian.
Thank you.
Great. And Moira.
Hi. You see, it wasn't an interest. I'm different maybe to most. It wasn't necessarily an interest in Buddhism that took me into Triratna. And again, you said maybe you haven't tried any other area of Buddhism, and I haven't. But I have had a very, very long meditation practice going back to the mid-70s. So it was through meditation that I came to, like, over the years, I would have been with various groups when I was living in Dublin, meditating on a regular basis. And I always was just aware of the strength of meditating in numbers and the power and the beauty of all of that, of like minds coming together. And there's just no comparison, I think, as we all know who meditate regularly, no comparison between your own meditation, however beautiful and lovely it might be, but experiencing that with a group of people, like-minded people, it is just like it multiplied by thousands. So I eventually joined Sangha Shura, I would have known through music, and also he's a neighbor here in Killaloe. But it took me a while to come to the meditation sector to actually join the Sangha. And to say that it was one of the best things I've ever done, like I still don't call myself Buddhist. I'd say probably I should say not yet, but I haven't taken that step forward. I would only have been with the Killaloe Sangha for about 2 years, I'd say, just before lockdown, thereabouts. So I haven't gone deep into study at all. In fact, I've done very little, but I would see myself, it's not, when I say I haven't gone in, I, on the other hand, don't ever see myself leaving. You know, so it is part and parcel of my day. There's absolutely no question about it. And the Sangha, particularly during lockdown, our Tuesday night meeting has just been an absolute, such a supportive experience in this whole business of COVID over the last year and a half. The Sangha, the coming together again of a set of like-minded people. And I find that the people in the Sangha, that I just have a total affinity with them, that through meditation, I suppose, I found myself changing through the years, going back years and years, in that what was important to me was kindness and friendship and support, and it wasn't something that you got everywhere. So like joining the Sangha, being with the Sangha, that is just there. You know, the way they say that we're all playing, we mightn't all be actors, but we're all playing roles all the time in life. And depending on where we are, we're in a different part and we're playing a different role. Well, that's what I find about the people in the Sangha, that nobody is playing a role, that people are. I find that the people I have met are who they are. Yeah. You know, that they are their real selves, and we don't have to put on or, you know, take part in anything, put on a cap or put on a whatever, take it on a different role. So that's that is probably now Triratna. As I said, I've a long way to go, but I'm looking forward very much to the journey, and can't imagine just not being part of the Killaloe Sangha now, to be quite honest.
Thanks very much, Maria. Yeah, it does very fully. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, great. So moving on to another question. So just this thing about sort of particular, the particular character in a way of the sort of, what I've got written down here is, what are the particular challenges for you in your cultural context in the Buddhist life? It may be challenges, or it may be sort of the kind of particular character which shapes your Buddhist life. And I wondered if I could ask Derek that, because I'm aware, Derek, you move between different sanghas, so you've probably got a perspective on the particular character of the Killaloe Sangha and practicing in Ireland.
Yeah, I think firstly, the sense from Sangha Shura of the wider movement, it was simply described to me, and it sounded interesting, but I was lucky enough to be able to experience it myself. So meeting people that Sangha Shura had known before he was ordained in West London, meeting order members who had been ordained by Banty, going on retreat with the Dublin Sangha, and realizing that whichever center you went to, you were encountering these same types of, on the one hand, fascinating, incredible, engaging, kind people, but at no point were you dealing with a cookie cutter encounter, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
There's so much diversity, yet so much individuality, and how people's individualities seem to flourish. And I think one of the reasons why I was interested in Buddhism theoretically for a long time, but reluctant to participate in a group, was that sense of maybe an aversion to groupthink or to orthodoxy or to hierarchy. Mm-hmm. And the sense that's not the ethos I encountered in Triratna. And whether it's encounters in Padmaloka and getting to meet people from other sanghas there, or in Vajrasana, or being in London, I was able to spend a little bit of time at the LBC as well as being a regular in West London. And just the consistent quality of the friendships that formed, how quickly deep friendships could form, and how over a decade those friendships would persist. How, not having seen somebody in a long time, we could immediately engage and actually have a deep, fruitful conversation that just doesn't happen out in the mundane encounters, work encounters, or whatever. The sense also that I have friends who have Tibetan practices, for example, or are members of Thai forest sanghas, and I've been very curious about what they find attractive and beneficial, and what might work for me and what mightn't. And it seems it's very rich to put on the garments of others, but in Triratna, we're attempting to understand what works for us in the West without reneging on our own cultural heritage. And that's a challenge, because not only are we on a personal journey, but the movement is on a journey. The movement is on a journey westwards, and it's so exciting to observe it happening, and just by showing up to participate in that. I hope that doesn't sound too highfalutin, but there is a sense that there's something really profound happening as Buddhism comes west. Yeah. And being part of it is wonderful.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Derek. Yeah, there's a lot of very interesting things you touched upon there. Yeah, but it is there's something deeply significant about that, isn't there? Buddhism that's actually sort of trying to engage with through your culture, through your own culture. Have you got any just little examples of ways in which that works for you, that's happening for you, even if it's a small example?
Well, I'm involved in a couple of study groups, and what I value is whether we're discussing a talk by Bhante or a text or a sutta, the practical application of what we're discussing is paramount. We're talking about people's life stories, and people who are married and have jobs and stresses, and all of the challenges that we all share, and at the same time trying to apply the Dharma and trying to emulate others. So rather than valuing others' experience and valuing how people are getting on, and learning from friends and friendships, and feeling supported by friends and friendships.
Yeah, great. Yeah, brilliant. Thank you very much, Derek. And perhaps a last question to Sean. What just this question of kind of internationality is very apparent for Derek, that he's sort of his experience is one of a kind of quite broad sort of international movement. Just wanted to ask you, what's your sort of experience of being a Buddhist? Do you feel your Buddhist life to be sort of identified with the Killaloe group, or do you feel yourself to be somehow part of an international community in your engagement with Buddhism?
Yeah, I suppose I've had more of a taste of being part of an international movement now over COVID, particularly. As Sangha Shura mentioned at the start, we've had more people connecting in with us internationally from England, Scotland, Finland, even the guys over in India. So it's kind of broadened out that and kind of put me more in touch with that sense of how big Triratna actually is, because I think a lot of the time it's very easy to get kind of lost in your own surroundings and the kind of smallness of that. But to have other people coming in from far and wide, just like what Derek was saying, listening to people's stories and listening to their, what they have to deal with from a cultural perspective, or even just a day-to-day perspective, kind of broadens that out. And yeah, it kind of, I think it's a very positive thing to come up against and to feel part of, because it does take you out of that kind of bubble that you're in, and you realize that, I think one of the very important things it's made me realize is kind of the universality of the Dharma, and how no matter where you come from and no matter what your background is, it's applicable and it makes a difference, and a very positive difference to people. And that's always an inspiring thing to see.
Yeah, wonderful. Yeah, thank you, Sean. Yeah, it's certainly something we've been seeing in these interviews, actually, that kind of uncanny combination of seeing just how similar we are, how much the Dharma sort of gets to something essential to human beings. At the same time, there's this sort of cultural richness, cultural sort of variation, but it doesn't. The two seem to sort of come together in certain ways. So.
Yeah, they kind of complement each other, right? It's not. It doesn't. The universality of the Dharma doesn't starve creativity, and it's kind of the interface between the two that creates some maybe that magical element that we can never describe, really.
Great. Thank you very much. I just thought I'd ask Sangha Shura, actually, just towards the end, just about kind of sort of anything culturally specific that you're aware of that a practice of the Dharma in Killaloe is characteristic in any sort of particularly sort of cultural way.
Well, I don't know about Killaloe, but I did notice when I moved from West London to Ireland that I felt like Irish people really took to the Dharma and to ritual particularly. Really loved that side of it. Lots of Irish people just really loved it and connected. That was my experience. I can't say why, because I'm not Irish, but I suppose as an English chap leading trying to sort of steer a Sangha in Killaloe, I often have communications with people who are Irish saying, am I doing, what have I got to be careful of? If I say this, if I do this, is this going to cause a problem? Because I don't know, and maybe actually one of the effects on me is I'm a bit too cautious sometimes, especially I have been around ritual and puja. These days, I'm just doing it. But, we stick in a puja on the Friday. We do a puja every Friday morning and the morning meditation.
Right.
But it's like I used to be really concerned that I didn't understand. Well, I probably don't. All the Irish people, yeah, you don't really understand. But it's like, I didn't really understand the Irish culture well enough. And so that is, you can hear the way I speak that I'm not very Irish. It's like she's actually saying to me that she's learned mantras with a sort of posh English accent, and she, people from Dublin doing it, and she goes, "What? You what?" I can't your question really. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, that's an interesting element, just the relationship with ritual. That ritual is not necessarily so problematic, or more people have got a more naturally positive relationship with it. Yeah,
I think there's people that love pagan stuff here. I mean, if I was a druid, it'd go down really well. A druid.
Great. So just a message out to the wider Sanghanite. Have you got any questions for our interviewees? Are there any things that you would like to ask them? If so, do put them in the chat box. I'm just checking the chat box now. Which has just got messages about dishing up for dinner and stuff. So no questions as yet. But yeah, do please it's been wonderful, hasn't it? Just listening to the answers. People have been so open, very, very moving actually. And so it's a real opportunity to just ask a question, and we can kind of draw out more along this this theme that we're exploring of what makes you a Buddhist. So do please. That's a little pitch for the wider Sangha here to ask any questions. I'll just consult my question board as well. Oh look, there's a question come in. Anna Lane asks, she comments that she says it feels like a very close Sangha, quite intimate Sangha. That's one of the things that's quite striking actually. You coming in interview, actually you communicate the character of your Sangha quite fully. So Anna Lane sort of comments on that. It feels like you're very close Sangha, quite intimate. She's just asking, I wonder how many mitras would you say there are, people who've asked for ordination and order members? Well, the order members is easy to answer, I think, isn't it? Because I know there's one. Sangha Shura, would you like to answer that?
I'm trying to count. I mean, there's people who've become mitras who I hardly see. So I can't remember how many mitras there are though. But there's a few mitras. We've got 3 mitras in the area who've asked for ordination, men. I don't think any women have asked yet for ordination, but they probably will very soon. But I can't remember. I can't remember those, so I don't write things like that down. But there are several people who've become mitras, over the years.
Great. And perhaps just another question about that. I mean, I suppose it's in a way what I want to ask is what's it like, sort of being in a smaller, more intimate Sangha? I mean, in a way, that's that's what you all experience. So, but Cambridge is a much bigger Sangha, and that it's quite different actually, the size of the Sangha. So I wondered if anyone had any sort of comments on that. Is that something you like? Is that something? Has anyone got any comments on that? It's just an open. I'll see who responds.
I was going to say, I think one of the things, because I started going to Dublin, which would probably be similar size to Cambridge, maybe a little bit smaller. But one of the things about the smaller Sangha in Killaloe, I find, is kind of an interdependence in a positive way. I feel, I'm not just showing up on a Tuesday night or in the morning for myself anymore. It's such a small group that my absence would be noticed, and sometimes it's just to do it for others, and kind of keep that closeness and kind of supportiveness for everybody going as well. It's kind of more important with the smaller Sangha, I feel.
Yeah, interesting. I was quite struck by a number of you commenting on that on the it being evident the impact of your practice on other people. And I think in a larger Sangha, it can be harder sometimes to see that. It can be easy to sort of write yourself off, and say, oh, it won't make any difference if I don't turn up, so I'll just do it if I want. But it was striking that a number of you commented on having observed the impact on others of your practice. So,
I think as well, just in regard to say like the Dharma study or like telling your life story, and that I think you have like just the possibility of really deeply getting to know people, because there are fewer, you know, you can really take on what people are saying and really remember it, and deepen the sort of Sangha friendships that way, probably compared to a larger Sangha.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
One of the most wonderful things about just this Sangha is, you know, I mean, I had some contact with some of the members before COVID started, but since it's begun, it's just such a place for deep communication and an honest sharing, where it's just, you know, the kind of communication is very different, and it's so valuable to to, you know, and I feel that, you know, we've all sort of developed in that way in the manner of our sharing. And I think because it's such a small, close Sangha, that's really, it's so valuable, because, you know, it's something that we can all share together. It's really, you know, it's really noticeable.
Great.
Yeah, and just to add to that, Christian, as well, was what I was saying earlier, that the sharing, but also the feeling of sort of safety, and just that, you know, that within the Sangha, that anything sort of that happens within the Sangha, that's just between us, between the members. And there is that great sense of support and sharing and safety and friendship.
That's great. Yeah, it's the same in the Cambridge Sangha. Anything that you say is just between, you know, the 500 people in the Sangha. That's they're the only people that'll know.
I think, Arthur City, one thing I would mind adding is remembering back to the pre-COVID, prehistory. When we would arrive on Tuesday evenings, and this goes back 3-4 years now, because it was so intimate, it was possible to arrive really quickly and just through a body scan go deep very, very quickly. And the sense of the sense of every Tuesday evening sit being very, very profound, and people having that experience very, very quickly, because there was that intimacy.
Yeah, interesting. There's another question come through here, which is related, but a different sort of angle on a smaller, more intimate Sangha. For you, Vajrashura, from Rob New. I shouldn't say surname, should I, on YouTube recordings? Anyway, sorry about that, Rob. Yeah, which is just saying Killaloe is sort of a large. I hope this isn't insulting. It's a large village. What gave you the confidence to start a Sangha in a village of a relatively small population?
It probably gave me more confidence because it was a small village. But it was funny because I don't know if I'm imagining this, but when Satyaraja said, "No, you go and start teaching. You do it. Don't invite other people. You do it." What gave me the confidence was that I'd heard. Now, someone's going to tell me that's rubbish, but anyway, what I'd heard was that Sangharashtra said originally, when encouraging people to go and teach, was what you do is you go for refuge as effectively as you can. You give everything to your practice, and then you share that and you befriend people. Oh, I can do that. If it was, you've got to be an amazing teacher, PhD in Buddhism, and go, I would never have done it. It was only that I believed that I believed that I could do that. Okay, I can keep practicing. Pardon? I could. So that's what gave me the confidence. I thought, well, I can be friendly. I'm doing my best to practice, and I can at least I can share what I know so far, and I move on. You know, I resist trying to become an amazing teacher. That's not how I operate. So that's I'll keep doing that.
Yeah. Great. Yeah. That's really really sort of significant. I suppose what we're as a community, as an order, what we essentially are is people trying to practice the Dharma. That's what you encounter at a Triratna center, not necessarily brilliant teachers, but real people who are trying to put the Dharma into practice, and that's what we have to offer. And that's what your confidence is based in, Sangha. That's it's a brilliant answer. And example actually to us all, no doubt. More of us could be providing the conditions for more people to encounter the Dharma and practice the Dharma. Yeah, great, thank you very, very much. There's one last question. When COVID restrictions, this is from Diane, when COVID restrictions are lifted, will you continue with your international Zoom meetings as well as meeting in the barn?
Well, my intention is to keep it hybrid. But I have to say, we had a weekend retreat recently, and the Sunday on the Sunday morning, I allowed the retreat to include the garden meditation, and I said it could be on Zoom. And it was a bit head-wrecking actually to be in the garden trying to lead something, being on Zoom, and we're finishing a retreat. So it had all three things going on. And then my Great Dane ran into the garden, and there was someone, Dan, she's here, was terrified of Harry. It was just like, ah! So I'm saying that my intention is to keep. I don't want to say, we've got very dear friends in India now, and Christians in Edinburgh and other people. We've got people in Birmingham, and so somehow I want to keep quite a lot of it hybrid. Yes. That was a long-winded way of saying yes, wasn't it? Yeah.
Well, it was yes with challenges, with things to kind of work out. Yeah. It's a transition that we're about to go through. Actually, transitioning into.
Just to add to that, it would be a huge loss to us if we haven't got. As I said, we've had a whole load of order members visiting us. So we literally, I think it's just a couple of Tuesdays. Every Tuesday we've had visiting order members, and it was just, I think it's only a couple of Tuesdays in like a year and a half we haven't, or a year and a quarter, whatever it is. So it's been amazing. So to lose that would be really sad. So we're going to be hybrid in some way. Yeah,
great. And Sean, is that very much what you would appreciate? Continue to have sort of access to more order members coming into the Killaloe.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I suppose kind of the more people you meet, the more experiences you come across, and that's always a very positive thing. I think, like Sangha said, it's going to be probably a bit of a teething phase with all this kind of stuff, trying to find out what way works. But I definitely think we have to kind of at least try the hybrid approach, because there's been so much positivity out of it over the last year and a half. It'd be a shame just to kind of throw that to the wayside.
Mm-hmm. Great. Well,
just to say,
I'll go on.
Oh, sorry, I'll just very quick. I'll just say, actually, Sean is my right hand man in everything. He's there for everything. He's doing the technical stuff. He turns up more than I do. Actually, I'm here on holiday, and he's been leading the morning meditation. So it's like, so he's amazing. Sean is like he supports everything. Amazing. Yeah, brilliant. Yeah,
great. Well. Yeah, thanks very, very much to you all. It's been delightful actually to interview you, and I sort of feel part of the Killaloe Sangha already. It's been very, very good. And particularly open, just sort of very, very delightful and full sort of sharing. And certainly I think you communicated a lot about this question of sort of what makes you a Buddhist. So yeah, a big thank you from us. We'll have a little debrief meeting at the end, so do, if you can, stay on for that. But what I'd like to do now is hand over to Sadaraja. Perhaps actually it might be that the Cambridge Sangha, if we go back to gallery view, the Cambridge Sangha would probably very much like to express their appreciation for the interviewees. Actually, maybe we could just sort of thank by sort of waving our hands or whatever it is. Yeah, thank you very much for what you've shared. It's been really touching. Yeah, and so I'll hand over to Sadaraja now, who's going to just give us a few announcements.
Yeah, once again, thanks a lot, Killaloe. Really appreciate it. Good evening. So I've just got a few announcements for the Cambridge Sangha. And the main thing to talk about is Dharma Day, which is on the 25th of July. So that's the celebration of the Buddha's first turning of the wheel of the Dharma 2,500 years ago. So that's a big day at the centre. And the theme is called The Foundations of Radical Change. So that's Dharma Day. But more importantly, in a way, the day before that, on the Saturday, the 24th, is what we're calling Relaunch Day. So we're actually relaunching the centre. So we're actually going to open it up so you can actually go into a building and meet people and have cups of tea with them in between events and all that. Remember what that used to be like? Well, we're actually going to start doing it again.